Well, his wife was a cousin of one of the gals that was in our, what Morse used to call the antiques. So they were invited to come to go with us on several occasions. And, of course, I got to know both of them quite well. In fact, I used to take Brill home from different things from the post place. And then, oh, I know what I got to tell you. So that summer, after your dad died, Dale and Joy came out, and I went back to Missouri with them. And I was back there, I think, maybe a couple of months. And I got a job at the university in the office. It was a good job, and I was doing it okay, but I got so homesick. I couldn't stand it. So Dale called Frank and said, "Oh, Mom's so homesick. I'm afraid we're going to have to send her home." And Frank said, "Don't you do it. She'll just make up with Dad again." So, go ahead.
She said after your dad died, and this is before he died, that she went back to...
Oh, yes, it was. It was before he died. Of course it was, because he didn't die last time I married Morris.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. He was still alive. So he called Joanne, and Joanne said, "I'll meet her." And Dale says, "We're putting her on the plane. She'll come into Pocatello a certain night." So Gina and Joanne was down there to meet me. And it was one of those little planes, you know. And they were standing there and watching the people come out, and Joanne all of a sudden said, "I don't think we're going to stay here. I'm sure that man that's walking behind Mom's dad, and I'm not going to stay here." And but Gina said, "Well, let's wait a minute and make sure." So they stayed there, and of course it wasn't. So I went over and stayed to their place a couple of nights. And then I came back and opened up the house, and
This is 1436.
yeah, 1436. Then I got that job over at the bakery, and that was one thing Frank said, and Dale said, and Joey said, everybody, "You'll never find a job like this in Pocatello." And I said, "I know I won't, but I've got to go back." So I got this job over in the office at the bakery, and Ada Cullen worked over to worked in the office over at Anderson Lumber Yard. She had for years, and so she said that she'd take me to work every morning. You know, be kind of on her way. I'd have to walk about a block, but then that's right. So she took me to work, and then your dad came back, and oh dear, he wanted me to go back to him, and all this and that, and I finally said, "The only way I can get away from him is to move." So I moved up to the Woolley Apartments. And Frank and Betty and Dale and Joanne and Jean helped me move that day to the Woolley Apartments. That and I was up there then, and it was New Year's Eve, and they were having this party, and it was out to this gal that she was a cousin, that it was Steve Atkins that was out at her place. So I went out with Mary and John Boyce, and we were playing rook, and everybody was having fun. And Morris says, "Can I take you home?" And I said, "Sure." So
He was there too, alone.
yeah, his wife died. This was after. This was after he died.
You and Dad had divorced by this time too then, huh?
I hope your dad didn't die.
You were married when
Well, Laverne was dead.
she died before we ever...
Yeah.
Before you ever...
You know, she
went back to...
was dead, and so
He took you home.
so he took me home, and when this gal found out, she just came up to me and she said, "I'm saving him for my sister." And I said, "I haven't got him, Peggy." And
Did he even try to kiss you goodnight?
no. So he took me home, and then I dated him after this. The only one I ever went out with was Morris. And that was New Year's Eve. And then during the summer, I'd go to get Mackie with he and Arlene and the kids. And there one day, Arlene said, if you guys don't make a date to get married, I'm gonna make one for you.
Orleans said that.
So we got married the 18th of September.
You did ever ask you to get married?
Oh, yes, of course.
You didn't say that. You just
Oh, I
said-
didn't say that.
No.
Or
You
Arlene
just said
talked.
Arlene made you.
Yeah, Arlene talked. No, we've been talking about it anyway.
What year was
Before I
that?
said that. Huh?
What year?
Been early 50s, about 1950.
54.
54?
54.
It was
My
that?
son's dad died in 54.
Hmm.
Just the year before.
And why you knew Morris, because he had been on the
Oh,
Navy team.
yes. Thanks, sir. Yes, I knew Morse because he was what do they call it?
Navy recruiting.
Navy, at the Navy. And Dale had wanted to get in the Navy so bad, and they kept telling him he couldn't tell him because he's too young. And else he had his parents' signature. So one time here, Dale come bringing him out the house for a sign so he could go in the Navy.
What are your fondest memories of your years with Morris? Things you did at the ranch and so on, I assume?
Well, it was a hard thing. It was real hard for me for a long time because I expected anything I did that wasn't just right, but he'd still yell at me. But that wasn't Morris. Morris never did that. He was a real sweet, gentle guy. You know, we had some really nice times with Morris. He was a real,
That was us, Monique.
Yeah.
oh yeah.
That was the, he's such a,
No. Morris had this cattle ranch in Mackey, and every fall they had a big roundup, all the ranchers up there go in and round up the cattle and bring them out. And they made a big thing about it. They'd go in there and stay for a week or 10 days and have somebody cook all their meals and all these men, and then on a Sunday their families would come out and eat with them and go back home again. And it was fun. One year, we were taking the food out to, I wasn't cooking that year. One year, Alice Levitt and I cooked for the fellows. But this one time, why, I was helping this guy take the food out to them for their new meals. And Alice had been riding all morning. And she said, I'm sure tired of riding. She said, I'd like to go home. She said, do you want to take my horse? And I said, okay. Well, I hadn't been on a horse since I was a kid. But I didn't think anything about it because I'd never been afraid of horses or anything. So we wore the same shoes. So she gave me her boots and I gave her my shoes. And we were just coming out, and you had to go down in a holler and up like this, you know. And the horse came just kind of a big leap like this, and I should have been expecting it. Off I went. Oh boy, I couldn't turn over for the longest time. I had to put both hands
Did you get back on?
to turn out. No, I rode back in the Jeep with the other guy, when the other guy. And Morris was fussing and fuming every night. I better take you home to the doctor. No, I said, I'm going to be okay.
what Frankie said was terrible.
Yeah, when Frankie heard it, he said, what kid?
Slang?
Did you let my mother ride a horse for? Morris says, well, I thought she knew all.
She thought she did too.
Yeah, I thought I did too. I wasn't a bit worried about it or anything. But, and I should have known, because that's what a horse does. When they come up out like that, they get a little leap to get up over the thing. And that little leap just threw me right off. I'm glad he wasn't bucking here, Ellen. I would have got darn. Morris said, I just sat in the air for a minute and then came right down.
You ever get back on a horse again?
No,
Never
never did. Oh, and the funny thing, that night, and all the guys in there just razzing the life out of me, you know. Yeah. Then the horse threw me off. Well, the next day, one of those good riders was riding the same horse, and he bucked him off.
Made you feel good.
Yeah, it made me feel better. Because was the one that was just really